Hi, Lucine.
Hello. Let's go.
I'm super excited to do this live with you. I was so much looking forward, and I'm very grateful. First of all, because of your time and all the care. I want to thank you for all the care, the preparation, and the effort that you put into this. It really, really means a lot. And also, thanks to the people who was already connecting. So, hi Thierry, hi Pavel, hi Anne. We can see the chat, so they will be a little bit interactive if we can. Of course, we're going to have the conversation, but at least at the same time, we want to engage a little bit with the people who are there because it shows
Yes, of course. I see them live as well here on my phone. I
amazing.
want to thank you, Roberto, for organizing this. I know you've been asking me several times and been very patient with me and my crazy calendar, but I'm really happy that you kept reminding me and that we're here now and making this happen.
Yeah, and absolutely. And let's do an event which is worth investing 1 hour of our time, which by the way, someone got was half an hour. It will be 1 hour. If you have to leave, of course, it's no problem, but it will be 1 hour. So we have time to little bit of questions and answers.
Yeah,
And of course, we want to make this worth of investment because that's the only thing that we're not getting back
our time.
anytime. It's our
Hmm.
time.
Yes.
So I know you from almost 2 years, Lucine, and you are a constant inspiration professionally and personally. And I also want to thank you here in this place because thanks to our conversation, I was able to do an amazing program, which is the high performance leadership with the wonderful and super generous George Corser,
Yes.
which I very, very, very grateful for that. It was an amazing experience, and I thank you so much
You're
because
welcome. I'm happy you
our
experienced that.
conversation, yeah, was the spark that ignited many more things. So uh, thank you for that. And you are a professional negotiator, you're a keynote speaker, you're a trainer, you're an advisor, you have many roles, and also you're a mother.
Mhm.
And my first question for you, Lucine, so that people also can know a little bit more about you. What's your story?
Oh my goodness. Which part of the story? Crazy story. I
The
feel like I've
one you
lived
want to
55 lives already.
share? Yes, exactly.
A professional journey in a nutshell. I started working, my first career was in finance. I worked on trading floors of investment banks and for a stock exchange for on and off 15 years. And it was in that capacity that I had the privilege of being trained by some of the world's best negotiators in how it is to negotiate like a professional. So we learned everything from high stakes deal making, stress management, profiling, lie detection, neuroscience, and all the things that are this beautiful art and science of human behavior. And I loved it so much that I continued learning from them, from others, reading books, etc., until I became a certified professional negotiator in 2014. So it's been a while, and now I'm working as an independent negotiation advisor where I help organizations with their high stakes negotiations. It can be business negotiations, divorce negotiations, suicide negotiations, anything where the stakes are high, and it's smart to bring in an external party to have a fresh set of eyes on it to help.
Yeah, and how interesting, starting from the world of finance, where we think that everything has to be rational and manage our numbers and all these things. We are having a live about managing your emotion and stress.
Hmm.
And I'm curious, what made you? And of course, we agreed about the topic. What was the spark that made you think this is a topic that may be useful and interesting for the people to share?
Yeah. Well, we all negotiate every single day, but not everybody realizes that. Many people think that we only negotiate when we are negotiating a salary or we're raising money for a startup, whereas we all negotiate every single day. Every time there is a disagreement and you have the willingness to go to an agreement, you're in a negotiation. So when you and I were talking about how shall we call this event, I suggested let's not talk about negotiation because again a lot of people they don't realize that they are negotiators themselves. Let's call it something about emotions, which is directly linked to negotiation, but
Yeah.
emotions is something that obviously everybody feels, and based on the keynotes that I've given and now internationally, so it's not related to any language or culture or country, everywhere where I speak, as soon as I start talking about emotions and emotional intelligence, people's eyes light up and they are full of questions. So for sure, this is a subject that a lot of people are interested in, and I'm happy to share whatever questions, whatever directions you want to go on. Let's talk a bit more about emotions, about how to remain calm in stressful situations. Obviously, high stakes negotiations are always stressful. Finance, the world I came from, is always stressful. So knowing how to navigate life when you're dealing with stress, I think is a good skill to have for anybody.
Mm, absolutely. And there is one thing when you mention negotiation. You said we have a disagreement and we are willing to do something.
Mhm.
Why is that so important?
It's crucial. We all have disagreements every single day. And, and
Yes.
and now I'm not even talking about the internal disagreements, which I'm really passionate about, but let's just say disagreements with other people. It's every single day and it's subtle. We have disagreements with our partner, we have disagreements with our employees, we have disagreements with our children. And a
Yeah.
disagreement is nothing more than I want A, you want B. That's it. Doesn't mean there
Exactly.
is conflict, doesn't mean there is drama. It just means there is a disagreement about what we want. And then when you add to that the willingness of coming to an agreement, now you are willing to talk, to put in the effort, to do something to resolve the disagreement and come to an agreement. And it's literally in our lives every single day. Like, let's say with your partner, you want to go on holidays, you don't necessarily agree on the destination, boom, that's a negotiation. Honey, what are we watching on Netflix? If you don't agree, that's a negotiation.
Yeah.
Kids, time to go to bed. I don't want to. Boom, you're in a negotiation. It's every day, it's constantly
Exactly.
with your neighbors, with your friends. And I believe negotiation is such an important skill to have, because when we become better negotiators, we are able to have literally less drama in our lives
Mm,
because we resolve conflict better, faster, with less stress. The subject
yeah.
of tonight.
Exactly. And how does that connect with stress and emotion, negotiation and emotion? Because we see we negotiate all day, every day,
Mhm.
in different situations, even with ourselves. Now, maybe we will talk a little bit of that. How does this connect with the emotion and stress?
Well, naturally, whenever there is a disagreement, there is some form of stress for most people. Most
Mhm.
people do not like conflict, do
Oh,
not like this concept of not agreeing, because we are social beings and it is wired in us that we need other people to survive. So
yeah.
as soon as there is a disagreement, there is this internal stress coming up that makes people uncomfortable, and it's full of emotions. It can be sadness, it can be anger, it can be frustration, it can be fear. Any type of emotion can then creep in because it just makes us so uncomfortable. Now, on a side note, I also want to say that there are certain personality types who thrive on disagreements, who thrive on conflict, who not only don't mind being in a disagreement, they actually benefit from it. It
Mhm.
gives them energy. So these are the people that will deliberately go and cause conflict, and the percentage of those type of personalities is much higher than we think. So all of us, we know these people. Some of us live with those people, some of us are those people. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know how many people are we in the live right now, but there are people who are in the live right now, or listening later in the recording, that have certain type of personality. Think about a narcissistic personality disorder, psychopathy, sociopathy. Those people thrive on conflict. So now everything we're discussing today is not for those people who love conflict, it's for those who don't like conflict, who are uncomfortable with conflict, who feel the emotions coming up and don't necessarily know what to do with it. That's what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would love to add one thing. Even if we don't love conflict, we may learn to like having conflict because we care about that. We want to resolve the conflict. We want to end
We
in a
want to
better.
resolve.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's what I often hear in my trainings. For example, when I say that I'm a negotiator, oftentimes I hear people say, "Oh, I don't like negotiation because I don't like conflict." And that's where I immediately want to change the mindset and say, because you don't like conflict, if you don't like conflict, that's when you have to become a better negotiator so that you can resolve it better, faster, with less drama.
Exactly. And also from my experience, when I went into a conflict, usually it was not so bad as it looked in the beginning. It was like, oh, what is going to do? Maybe the person is going to take a bottle and smash it on my head.
Mhm.
No, this is not going to happen. But as you said, it's wired in our brain. And on the other side, when you don't address the conflict, then things go worse and
Then they
worse and
escalate.
worse and
Absolutely.
worse.
Mhm.
And how does this connect with what you said about before? You mentioned the stress before the conflict. Why is this so important?
Yeah. Well, when we talk about emotions, about managing emotions, I mean, how did we call this talk? How to deal with your emotions in
Yeah.
stressful situations, right? And I want to emphasize that if you want to become better in emotional intelligence, if you want to become better at managing your emotions, there are three aspects. There is the part before a stressful event. How can you train your body and mind in being able to deal with stress better? And then there is during conflict. You don't necessarily do the same things during a stressful situation to deal with your emotions than you do before. And then there is after a stressful situation. What do you do to get rid of all those emotions that are flushing in your body? So it's important to look at it in three different aspects, and not only focus on, okay, I'm stressed, what do I do?
Wow.
There's a lot of things that you could have done before so that that stress wouldn't impact you right now. You see? So that's why I would
Yeah,
like to tackle all three angles so that people really have,
absolutely.
and people, there might be listeners that are listening that like, why don't we ask the audience? If we were
Yes.
to ask you, dear audience, when is it that you feel that emotions and stress become problematic for you? Is it during, when you're feeling the stress? Is it then that you don't know what to do with your emotions? Or is it after a stressful event where you're full of emotions and you don't know how to get rid of it? Or would you like to learn what to do before and in everyday life so that you are more equipped to deal with it? So just write in the comments before, during, after, um,
Yeah, that's an amazing
or
idea.
anything
Thank you.
else that you would like to share with us. And then we can, based on
Yeah,
what the audience wants, talk
let's
about
wait for a few
that.
seconds because I know I'm aware there is a little delay between we are speaking and we see. So it's
Okay.
like
And maybe we
20
can also
seconds.
just open it to any type of questions that they might have so
Absolutely.
far. Let's make this interactive. So please let us know
Exactly.
when you decided to come to this event, what is it that you would like to walk away with? Is there any specific question that you have in mind? Just let
Yeah.
us know. And this is all freestyle and adapted to you. And we will go.
Okay. Petya is saying after,
hmm You see? So it's interesting, right? We
Matt
all
during,
assume that people think,
during,
yeah,
before, during, Kiran,
mm, see?
Dasa, before, during.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm.
As you said, there are no two identical human beings. Everyone perceives this in a different way.
Exactly, yeah. So that's what I was saying before. It's when I start realizing that this is turning into a stressful situation. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then during, before, after.
During,
Yeah. So you see, so people perceive
yeah,
stress in different moments. It's not
exactly.
necessarily during the stressful situation, it's before, it's after. How do we deal with it? Okay, so let's just go with it for chronological order. Okay, if you want to become emotionally resilient, if you want to develop your emotional muscle, I think that's the way we should look at it. For example, if you want to develop your cardio, you deliberately go and make your heart beat faster because you want to train it to come back to a
Mhm.
normal heartbeat in a fast way, right? That's the whole goal. That's why we do cardio. That's why we do high
Yeah.
interval trainings and that kind of crazy stuff. We deliberately push the heartbeat faster and faster and faster because we want to grow that muscle so that it can calm back, go back to calm faster and better. Okay. Now, emotions is the exact same thing. We can train our emotional resilience so that we deliberately create stress, 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 push our body in a fight or flight so that we teach it that it can go back to calm. It's
Mm.
literally like the heart muscle. Okay. So now a few examples. What can you do before to make yourself emotionally more resilient? It is literally put your body in stress so that your body has some form of shock. So a few examples can be certain breathing exercises. For example, the breathing exercises that is taught to us by Wim Hof. Uh, you might have
Mhm.
heard of him, the Iceman, who has broken loads of air records and doing crazy stuff and spending time in ice. He has a specific breathing exercise that when you do it, and this is something that I do, for example, almost every day, you literally put your body in a stress, but it's in a calm and safe environment so that you
Yeah.
teach your body to calm down better. Okay, so you're training your body in emotional resilience. That's one. The number two, again, also what Wim Hof is doing, is anything with rising or lowering temperatures, your body temperature. So when you're taking a shower, you can go from very hot to very cold to very hot to very cold. That is a shocker, right? That is
Mhm.
why saunas exist and ice baths exist. We deliberately put our body in stress so that it builds its resilience. Exactly.
Wow.
So that's another thing. A third thing you can do if you know a stressful event is coming up, it can be high stakes negotiations or anything in your own life, is to make sure that you sleep well.
Mm.
We all know how much worse we react to everyday stressors when we had a horrible night of sleep. Like everything is different, right? So sleep is really a crucial one because it helps you be ready and be prepared when you have to confront a stressful situation, but it also after a stressful event helps you to process and calm down, etc. So sleep is really an important one. We talked about breath work, we talked about temperature, be it extreme high or extreme low. Those are just a few examples that you can use to, in a safe environment where there are no stresses, create stressors, create shockers for your system to learn about how it is to go back to a calm place. Okay. And I also want to emphasize, and this was fascinating research done by Stanford University that showed that stress is only negatively impacting you if you believe it does.
Ah,
So by having shifting your mindset and seeing stress as something positive, which it is in this case, right? When we're deliberately adding stress so that
yeah.
we learn from it, it's actually a good thing. So stress, in my eyes, is neutral. It's not necessarily good. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily bad. It's just coming there to tell you something, inform you of something, just like emotions, by the way. And
Yeah.
it's if we know how to calm that stress down, if we know what to do to not stay in that high level of alertness all the time, because that obviously is toxic and not beneficial, if we know how to calm it down, then we don't have to fear it anymore. Stress,
Yeah.
emotions, same thing. If you know how to calm it down, you don't have to fear it anymore.
Absolutely. And there is one thing that you said, and it's information. And I would like to add one thing, by the way. It is amazing. Very so many things. There is already a question also asking about the breathing, but we'll go back. I would like to add one thing, which is when you say that this is just information,
Hmm.
it's also my experience that when I'm feeling the excitement and anxiety are exactly the same in our body.
Yes.
I the same signs in the body.
Hmm.
You are accelerating, maybe you're sweating or something. And when I see this, I can think, okay, I'm excited or I'm anxious. Because if I'm excited, it's because I care.
Yes.
And I care about this. I care about doing a good job, having a great conversation, having an impact, whatever. And if you remember how I started the conversation, I'm very excited to do this.
Mm. Yes.
and and then there is also one other thing that we can do, and also I want to credit George Corse for this because this is something that I heard in his training,
Hmm.
which is visualize the outcome.
Yes.
So before
Mm.
we can think about how do I want this conversation, this live, this meeting, this whatever to go, and we play this in our head again and again and again,
Absolutely. And it's not
and
just a
then
woohoo thing, right? It has been scientifically proven. Top athletes are using it. If you know you're going to have a stressful event, and it doesn't matter whether that's a work event, it can be a Christmas party where you know there's
yes,
going to be certain people that are going to stress you out.
yes,
Whatever it is, you can visualize upfront how you would want it to be. And then
yeah,
it's not about controlling events, it's about
mm,
focusing on your feeling. How would
exactly.
you like to feel? And by feeling that before the actual event, you're programming your mind. And then there's this whole thing
Yes,
about energetics that is happening that then absolutely helps. Yeah. Thanks for adding that one too.
exactly. And you're setting the intention. As with
Mm-hmm.
the day before, and you mentioned sleeping, when you're going to sleep and when write down the goal for the next day, for example, is something that I do. What are my three goals? Not many, three goals for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
One, two, three. And what do I want to express? What emotion? What part of me I want to show?
Yeah.
And this has me with the intention. And then what, of course, things happen. Now we're discussing, oh, no, everything goes perfect. No, I'm human. Sometimes things don't go as planned, but it helps a lot and it
Right.
makes you focus. Yeah. Lucine, one thing, and I'm super curious, by the way, because there's Thierry asking to describe the breathing exercise. Could you do
Mm.
a little
Yeah.
explanation or maybe even demonstration of how we do it?
Sure, happy to describe it. And I'm giving all the credit to Wim Hof. This is not something that I came up with. So, Wim Hof, again, Google him, the Iceman. There is a free app that you can download. I'm not promoting him, I'm not earning any money. I'm just giving credit for the man who came up with this. So, this is a breathing exercise that all in all takes you about 8 minutes. Okay. Now, what you do is you do 30 rounds of deep inhalation and exhalation. In, out, without blocking anything. It has to be circular, it has to be smooth. Okay, so just deep in with your nose or mouth, doesn't matter. Okay, 30 times.
Okay.
After 30th time, once you have exhaled all the air fully, you block your breathing. So you stop breathing and you time it at the beginning as long as you can. Okay, so in the beginning, that might only be 30 seconds, it can be 40 seconds, whatever it is, just as long as you can. And then when you really, really, really can't do it anymore, so this is the moment where you're putting your body in stress, right? Because you're not breathing anymore.
Yeah.
And really, when you reach the moment where you think you're going to die and you really need oxygen, then you breathe in fully and you hold that for 15 seconds. Okay, and
Wow.
then you let it go. That was one round. You do 3 rounds and you will see how amazing this is. You will also see that the moment where you're not breathing, it's expanding exponentially. It's
Mhm.
crazy. Like in the beginning, you might be able to hold it only 30 seconds, 40 seconds. At one point, you're going to reach 1 minute, 1 minute 30. It's amazing. And then you do the breathe in deeply and then you hold it 50 seconds. That one is not changing. It's just always 50 seconds. And then you let it go. You do 3 or 4 rounds, you will see you're completely pumped. You have more energy. You've already done something difficult to start the day. So there's also this element of dopamine boost because you've checked
Yeah.
something difficult.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that is how the breathing exercise works. And there's a lot of research done by it. Like it's just crazy, the benefits. Go and Google it. And learn about it. But this is one that I use. I use different types of breathing exercises based on what I need. There are some breathing exercises that to calm the body. There's some to pump the body. This one,
Wow.
you're deliberately putting your body in stress to teach it that it's okay, that it's safe, and then it learns how to go from a stressful situation to calmness faster. So this is like emotional cardio.
Wow. Thank you for sharing this.
Let me
And
know,
for
Cherry, and the others if that was clear. And then yeah, let's go on with
yeah,
what
I see here
else they
some
want.
comments. Okay. Wow. Time flies. Now we are just in the phase of the pre. We have the during, the
Mm,
after. Okay. So how about
yes.
we go a little bit into the during, and then maybe we go back or forth, whatever is.
Sure. Yeah.
It's there.
So again, definitely worth investing in your emotional resilience in periods of calm where there are no high stakes. Okay.
Mm.
Then your body is prepared. Then, once you are in the middle of a stressful situation and you feel your emotions are coming up, what do you do? A few things. Number one, same thing, the breathing exercises can help. Obviously, not the one we just discussed. In this case, you want to do what I learned from, what's his name again? Professor Andrew, the famous Stanford guy who has all these
Lieberman.
beautiful, Iberman, exactly. Um, so he came up with this what he calls the oh man, now I forgot the name as well. Doesn't matter. I will teach you how it works. So when you're in a stressful situation and you very quickly want to get out
Mm.
of it, you want to calm your system down, there is this breathing technique where you do an inhalation until your lungs are full. And then when you're full, you do a little inhale again with your nose. And then you breathe out slowly, okay? And you always want to make, if you want to calm your body down, you want to make sure that the exhalation is longer than the inhalation,
Mm.
okay? So I will demonstrate again. And you take the time to exhale slowly. Every time you exhale longer than you inhale, you're telling your body to calm down. Okay.
Mm.
Every time you inhale faster than or longer than you exhale, you're telling your body to pump it up. Okay. So it depends. Do you want energy? It's all about the inhale. You want to calm down? It's about the exhale.
Mm.
That's one
Wow.
way.
Thank you, Lucien. There is Nayer is commenting one thing, which I think
Yes.
is
Thank you. Thank you,
about
Nair. The
the
psychological sigh. Absolutely. That's how it's
exact.
called. The physiological sigh. Voila.
Thank
That's the
you.
name of it. Thank you, Andrew
Yeah.
Huberman. Credit to those who deserve it.
Yeah. And she also mentioned one thing, which is the box breathing, which
Box
is also an
breathing. Yeah.
amazing technique, which, by the way, you can do it without anyone noticing. You can even do it in a meeting. Of course, I don't think maybe it's you can do it if you put the microphone off and the camera off. We can do it all the
Absolutely.
time.
Yeah, let's
But
explain what it is. So
yeah,
there is the triangle breathing or there is the box breathing, and it just means that the inhale, hold, and exhale are the same number. So we just
mm,
said when you exhale longer, you calm your body down. But in general, when you want a natural flow of things and calm your body down, the box breathing is, for example, you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. Okay? And then the triangle is you breathe in for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. It depends, or the other way around: breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4. um,
mm,
or 5 or 6, whatever is comfortable to you based on how advanced you are in breathing exercises, how new this is for you. You just do whatever works for you. You start with 4 seconds, or you
yeah,
can bring it to 5, 6, 7. Really whatever makes you comfortable. But we are not aware how powerful breathing is and breathing techniques are, how that can completely change us physiologically. So, if in that moment we just want to get rid of a stressful event, this is a very fast and very efficient way to calm our body and mind down. So that is one thing that can help once you're in it. Another thing, what also helps is when you're going through all these emotions, your body, your brain is in the amygdala, okay? It's your amygdala takes over and you're not connected to your thinking brain anymore. And one way to reconnect yourself to your thinking brain again is by putting a name on what it is that you feel, okay? So let's say it's fear. For example, I'm scared of ABC, okay? You need to give a talk for 1,000 people and you're scared. It might sound counterintuitive, but it actually helps when you speak out loud what it is that you feel. So if you just
mm,
say, I feel stressed to go on stage. I'm scared to go on stage. I'm scared to go on stage. I feel the stress of going on stage. Just that expressing it already calms it
wow,
down. Okay, so this is what we call emotional labeling. Just express whatever it is that you're feeling for yourself, obviously. And then if you're in a safe environment, you can also share this with other people. But if you don't want to, it
yeah,
doesn't matter. Then you just do it in your head. But as soon as you are using words, you are using the thinking brain and you are reconnecting you're coming out of the fight or flight response and you're going back to the thinking brain, the neocortex here. So yes, putting a name on what it is that you're feeling, expressing it, definitely helps to connect with the neocortex faster. And then I also want to emphasize one thing is that, we're all scared of emotions and we feel things we don't want to feel, and then we say or do things that we regret. I believe we make a big drama out of emotions simply because we're not informed enough about what it is, and we don't realize that emotions are there to help us. Our creator didn't create emotions just to piss us off. They're there
mm,
as an ally. They have a goal, they have a message. So, our goal is to see emotions as messengers. Oh, there
mm,
you are, fear. I feel fear. What does fear want to tell me? Every single emotion has a message. Okay. I mean, it would take too long to go through all of them, but just realize that every emotion has a message for you and is only there to serve you. It's only there to help you survive. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not there to annoy you, to piss you off, to make you feel ashamed or whatever. It's really there to guide us. So the more you develop your emotional intelligence, the more you can use that phenomenal ally that you have inside of you. And then
Yeah. And
another thing that I would like
because
to
I would
share.
like to add one thing because it connects beautifully with part of my coaching training, which is not to resist the emotion.
Mm,
Because we say that what you resist, persists.
persists.
So if you don't want to feel something and you avoid it, it usually happens the opposite.
Yeah.
And and instead, there's also a beautiful part of a coaching exercise when you listen to the emotion, we stay with the emotion. And what we find is that people are afraid of staying with the emotion. But then
Mm,
I say, okay, make it bigger, make it bigger, make it bigger. And then what happens is, as you said, with the stress, it's a stress. And then usually comes a moment, maybe not in this moment, maybe later, but then you say, okay, I experienced that, I labeled it, and then takes it in your message is still with you,
yep.
but then all the consequences and all the other things are not there anymore.
Mm.
And there is a question from Vikanshni, who perhaps is connected with this. She asked, thank you, by the way, for asking this brave question. What if we feel like crying in a stressful situation? How can we prevent this? This is the question she asks.
What if
What
you
do you
feel
think?
like crying?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, crying is a physiological response to sadness. Okay. So, sadness is as soon as your body perceives something as a form of loss, it's informing you there is a form of loss. And then that makes you want to cry because by crying, you're releasing a lot of stress. This is literally your physiological response to releasing an overdose of stress out of your body. And it has loads of benefits. So for everybody who was taught, man up, don't cry, this and that, it's the biggest disservice that has been done to you.
Mm,
And it's time we unlearn that crap because crying is very beneficial. Okay. Now, of course, in certain settings, you might yourself see it as a weakness to cry or not professional to cry, etc., etc. So that is, one thing that is very different for different type of people. Um, but then we go back to what we discussed on the beginning of this session is what can you do beforehand so that you become better at emotional regulation so that the tears don't jump up out of nowhere. Because if that happens, something tells me then that there have been a lot of tears in the past that have been suppressed, that have been pushed away.
mm,
And maybe not necessarily tears, but also frustration, all kinds of stuff. If
yeah.
if you are a person where you experience often the tears just come up, whereas you weren't even aware of what's happening, to me, that indicates that there is too much unresolved stuff. There's too much
Mm,
under the rug. For years, you've been pushing things away. So then the invitation is there to come and say slowly, although it might be, painful or complicated, pull up the rug. Let's go and see what's there. And that can
yeah.
happen, in with friends, that can happen in therapy, that can happen in any time of safe setting where you can go and explore what is it that I've pushed away for so long. But again, every time something comes up, see it as an invitation. See it as an emotion that is knocking on the door and wants your attention. As soon as you just acknowledge it by looking in its direction, so by opening the door, it
Yeah.
already calms down. It's
Yes.
because you've been ignoring it for so long that it comes and it comes and it comes. So once it comes, it just shows that there is too much. Some people cry, and this is an important one, by the way. So tears, again, are an expression of sadness, but often they, in certain cultures or certain generations, we've been taught that it's not okay to cry,
Mm,
so they push it up. And then there are people who, when they are sad, instead of crying, which is the natural consequence, they go and they act in anger. They hit a
oh,
wall. They scream because that emotional expression was accepted. That
yeah.
was okay. And crying wasn't. And exactly the same way for other people. There are many people who Instead of, for example, when their boundaries are being crossed, which is the message of anger, instead of being angry, instead of, yelling or standing up for what they want or saying a firm no, that's when they start crying. So this
Mm,
is the other way around. They've been taught
yeah,
that crying is okay, expressing anger isn't. So it's interesting to ask yourself, when you were growing up, which expression of emotion was accepted, which one wasn't. That's where
yeah,
your lessons are. That's where the hidden part is under the rug, and that's where we can start exploring.
yeah, absolutely. And this reminds me also of how important, now that we both have kids, how important it is to show them that it's okay to do all of this.
Mm,
It's okay for a father to be sad, to cry. It's okay for the mother to be angry, and avoiding these stereotypes because it does not
absolutely.
serve them at all. And we have also our luggages from the past, and of course, everyone has these things. And and I think we also have this responsibility with our children to
Of
show them
course. Of
how
course.
we can behave in a way that is different. Yeah.
Our role as parents and caregivers is to create this safe space where they
Yes.
can go through their emotion and know that it's safe, that it's not going to be penalized, it's not going to be
Exactly.
punished. You're going through an emotion, go through an emotion. A kid knows very well how to go through an emotion and
Yeah.
regulate. They know. They just need us to be there and protect
Hold them.
them and to
Yeah.
hold that safe space. That's all. That's also what we want from a partner, really. And again, as you said, there are no stereotypes, there are no gender roles in this. We're all human, we all have the exact same brain and how the emotions are processed and work. We just need a safe space to express that in a way that we won't be ridiculed, we won't be punished for, etc. And what I want to add, and this is the right moment to add that as well, if you look at children, they go through an emotion, they just go through it, they get back up and they go on with whatever they were doing, because
Yes.
they know that an emotion is not going to stay in your body forever. It's us adults pushing it away that makes it then stay longer. But if you want to know physiologically, do you know how long an emotion goes through your body? I'm sure you already know, Roberto, but for the listeners, it might be fascinating to know, because we're
Yeah.
making such a big fuss out of it as if it's something so scary, or this invisible monster that we don't know. But sit down with it and get to know it, and you will see it's actually not a it's actually not a monster. It's more
Exactly.
like a little, cute thingy that is there to help you. Now, what is an emotion? An emotion is your brain telling your body to get prepared because it's perceiving some form of threat. Okay? Your brain's number one goal is to protect you. It's protection, it's survival. All right? It just wants to keep us alive. Now, whenever it perceives, let's say, for example, a threat, okay, and it says, okay, danger, 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 boom, I'm going to give the order to the brain. The brain is going to give the order to the heart to start beating faster so that it can send blood to our extremities so that we can get ready to fight or flight. Okay. Now, an emotion, the time it takes to come up and to leave again is only da, 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 90 seconds.
Yeah.
1 minute and a half. Ladies and gentlemen, can we allow ourselves to feel something for 90 seconds? It's
Wow.
because we don't want to feel it that it becomes longer, and we tell ourselves stories about it, and boom, you add another 90 seconds and another and another. And now an emotion becomes a feeling, and a feeling becomes a sentiment becomes a story becomes our identity. And before we know it, we're whining about the same thing for 30 years. Okay, it's just 90 seconds, guys. And if you look at children, they demonstrate us this very well. You look at the child who's going through an emotion, you be safe and go to their level and just let them go through it. You will see
Yeah.
in no time they're back to playing again.
Exactly. Yeah. And I would also like to add, when they feel heard,
Mm,
and when they feel
that's
seen,
it, just the
when they
recognition of
feel
it.
exactly that. Oh, and one time that happened, some later, I saw my daughter Valentina was like very angry, and I said, "Oh, Valentina, you are very frustrated." And she said, "Yes, I am, of course." And she was like, and then what happened? Okay, let's do another thing.
That's it, because you allowed her to feel what it is that she was feeling. Listen, every single emotion needs to be recognized and needs to be allowed to be. Okay, it's there. What you do with the emotion can be detrimental, and that's another
Uh-huh.
story. But the fact that you're feeling it shouldn't be suppressed. Who are we to tell somebody else, calm down, when they're going
Yeah,
through an emotion? And tell me this: have you ever told somebody to calm down who was going through an emotion and then they calm down? Has that ever worked? It
the opposite.
doesn't. It
What?
doesn't.
Calm down. What?
It,
No, now you're going to
yeah,
listen to
might
me.
make them even more angry. Exactly, because you're not allowing them to feel whatever it is
But
that they're
this-
feeling. Whereas
yeah,
if you were just to say, it seems to me that it looks like, oh, this must, and you label it, even if
yes,
you're labeling it wrong, you allow them to feel whatever it is that they're feeling, and you give them the opportunity to correct you, which is still
exactly.
better than pretending it's not there, trying to push it away, or even worse, just ignoring it totally.
Yes, exactly. Maybe
I'm
you
really
say, okay,
uncomfortable.
you're very angry. No, I'm not angry. I'm disappointed at you. Ah, okay, you're disappointed. What happens? Exactly. And then you start a conversation. It's not about shutting up. It's like about what's happened to you, and I'm curious, and I want to hear about you. Absolutely. And
Yes,
if
really,
the other
we're
person,
making such a big fuss out of emotions. It's just because we don't know them. It's the unknown. It's the unknown. That's it. Become familiar with it, embrace it, be curious about it, go inwards. Like after this conversation, I just invite everybody who's listening right now. Just when you shut off, take 2 minutes, 2 minutes to just go inward and say what it is that I feel right now.
hmm,
That's all. And in the beginning, that might be weird because you've never asked yourself that question. So your body is not even sure if you're serious about this. But the more you do this, the more your body will trust you with telling you what's happening. And then you will also feel the nuances between you, because you can feel two at the same time, right? You can feel anger and sadness. You can feel A and B. So it's very interesting to learn about what it is that I'm feeling and what is the message behind it.
absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Lucine, for this example. Again, time flies. We have thank you also for all the people who are making so interesting questions.
Yeah.
We have 15 minutes. I'm curious, very curious about what to do after.
Yes, absolutely. Let's
Yeah.
address that as well. So, once we've been through a stressful situation and we're out of it, the situation is over, but we still feel those emotions. It's not something that you can just push away and go on with life, because, again, the residue is going to stay in your body. You want to get rid of it.
Ah,
Um, and we see this in the animal kingdom. They know perfectly well what to do. When you look at animals, for example, who go through a stressful situation, it can be a fight with another animal, it can be running away from an animal, it can be whatever it is. Once the situation has calmed down, if you observe them, you know what they do? They shake it off. They shake.
like
They shake. They shake it off. So, literally moving your body allows those emotions not to get stuck in the fascia, but to get out. So shaking is a great way to get rid of unresolved,
wow.
stressful
So
situations,
it's
emotions,
like
etc.
this, just
Yeah,
like doing this.
any way you want,
Any
any way.
movement,
If you want, put on music and shake on the music. If you want,
jumping,
dance.
or
Dancing helps, absolutely. So shaking absolutely helps. Dancing helps. Any type of body movement helps without it adding stress. Yeah, we're not doing the high interval
what
and
about
stuff. Just
walking?
walking,
Walking outside.
walking, absolutely, 100%.
Oh,
Humming is another one.
like
Humming allows it. Yeah, humming any type of song you want, just hum. That
oh,
vibration that you're creating in your body through humming helps to calm the nervous system. And anything that helps you calm the nervous system, anything that you enjoy doing. That can be taking a hot bath, that can be breathing in certain essential oils, that can be doing a meditation, that can be. So this is now the opposite of what we said about the before, right? Now you want to calm your body down. So you want to make the exhale longer. You want to anything that makes your body feel safe. Also, another thing that really helps very fast, and this can be done during as well, is when you give yourself a hug like this. Yep. And you tap. You can try it out for those watching us. You just give like a hug and you give
Yeah.
taps, and then what helps is maybe you can add something by, for example, telling yourself, I'm safe, I'm good, I'm allowing myself to feel what it is that I feel, and boom,
Mm.
that helps immediately.
Wow. Thank you so much. And now you're giving also scientific proof, because I will tell my wife this is by way of joke, because sometimes when I feel frustrated or something, I think, okay, I have to take a walk, and I go outside, literally go outside five
Yep.
minutes, take a walk, and come back. And what people think sometimes, at least it was my experience, that I want to get away from the situation.
Hmm.
And in the end, what you are saying is, no, you don't want to get away. You want to be in your best state so you can go back again.
Well, it doesn't matter what the reason is. The intention in
Yeah.
both situations is good. Walking away literally can also be a good thing to do during, right? If it becomes too much, and if I stay in this
Ah,
moment, I'm going to say or do something that I'll regret. So I'm pulling
yeah.
myself out of the situation, time out, I'm taking a
Oh,
break,
yeah.
I'm taking a walk. That's very good. You know how often it has happened to me in high stakes negotiations where the tension was becoming up, 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 and I knew this person is pissing me off so much that I better
Mhm.
pull myself back. So I said, listen, this truly matters to me, and I want to be at my best to resolve this in the most ethical way. That's why I'm calling in a break.
Oh, wow. That's great. And you're also saying why. So you say, I care because I care. I want to take a break because I know myself. You're not doing, and you're talking about yourself. You're not
Yeah.
talking about the other person. So they cannot say
No, this is what I
anything.
need. Yeah.
I need this. This is what is happening because I want this. I'm going to do this. Is it okay? This is amazing.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I would like to add one thing, which is also connects with. We are getting back to the during one because it connects with what you said about the 90 seconds.
Hmm.
Because when we feel your emotion going up and you say, okay, I'm going to say something that I don't like, what sometimes I do is ask a question.
Yep.
So this
True.
gives me the time
Gains time. Yep.
to breathe, to think about what I want to express, maybe to touch one of my things that I have here, to remember something that I want to express, and then maybe not even necessary because the topic goes away or whatever. So this is another thing that we can do. Ask a question because we don't have all the answer, by the way.
Yep.
And maybe asking a question, we clarify something and it's not that big deal.
Hmm. Yes, but also just having the courage to say, let me think about this. Let me get
Yeah.
back to you. I don't have the answer right now. I need to reflect on this. Those are all valid answers.
Yes, exactly.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Shall we go to the audience?
Yes.
So, audience, let's open up the floor to you. Based on everything you've listened to, is there anything you would like to hear more on? Is there any feedback? Is there anything of all the things that I've said? Is there anything you've already experienced, you're already doing? Let's open the floor to you and let me know how else we can help. Oh, and I also want to ask in the audience, is there anybody who has ADHD? Because ADHD people have a natural talent of remaining calm in crisis. Also, neurologically proven. So, when we have been diagnosed with ADHD or we have ADHD and we're not even aware of it, we tend to have a natural talent for remaining calm in crisis because our brain
Mm,
is already used to
yeah.
working in high stressful
Yeah.
situations. And there are people who even unconsciously create stress to be able to perform. Think about all the people who are last minute deciders, who need last minute stress, who even from high school, they waited for the last minute to hand in that test, to learn for that exam. It's an unconscious way of your body to create a deadline, meaning
Yeah.
stress, so that you can then perform. And this again proves that stress is not necessarily a bad thing. Stress pushes you into performance, so it can definitely also help you. So it's really the way you look at it. As long as you know how to get out of the stress once the exam is over, once the threat is over, how can you calm yourself down, for example through the things that we said, then there's absolutely no problem. And even stress is there to help us and protect us and keep us in survival. So
Yes.
yeah, if you have ADHD, you have a little superpower in knowing how to remain calm in crisis. Does this resonate with anybody in the audience?
Yeah. And someone is saying, you're explaining me, that's me. And that's great because it's not good or bad, it's how we are. So knowing how we are, how our brain works, also might help you, because maybe someone can tell you, oh, this you're a bad person because you are procrastinating. Maybe not procrastinating, maybe it's how I do my best. So
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
it's saying that morning person, night person, what's the best? There is no best. You know who you are, how you function, and then you adjust your schedule, your things to work at your best, not to what
Absolutely.
expectation from other people.
Hmm.
Exactly.
And we're all different, you have the early birds and then you have the night owls. You
Exactly.
have to stop judging people, stop wanting us to
Yes.
be different than how we are, and just let look at us naturally. What do I naturally do well? And then accept ourselves as we are, and then try to build life around that. And it's not easy, and I know, because I'm a chronic night owl. I love sleeping late. I love the silence of the night, and I get a lot of things done. Like most of my business, I have built after 8:30 once the kids were asleep. That's just how
Yeah.
I work. But
Yes.
society has been built in a way that gives more credit to early
Oh
birds,
yeah.
and also
4:30 in the morning.
it's been
Yes.
built in a way that you have to. I mean, from the second you're a parent, it's done being a night owl and waking up late. You
Yes.
have to wake up very early, take care of the kids, etc. So it messes up your natural rhythm, and then you're continuously trying to, but again, self-awareness is super important. Acknowledgement of yourself, your skills, your emotions, all those things are just so important. It's such an inside job. Like most of this, you don't need anybody else, you don't need a book, you don't need a training. You just need self-awareness and the curiosity of wanting to go inward, understanding what's happening, look at it with empathy, with compassion, give yourself some credit for everything you're doing well, and stop beating yourself up.
Yeah. And I see there are a lot of questions already.
Hmm.
So of
That's
course,
great.
we can go on for 2 hours more. But it's super interesting, by the way. Thank you, Lucien. So let's see. First question. Mm, mm, mm,
What do we have?
she's asking, do we shape our emotion or do secretly shape us? So,
Oh, deep
good
question.
question. Yeah.
I like it. I don't think our emotions shape us as long as we don't identify with our emotions. Okay.
Oh,
As I said, emotions are just messengers. We need to acknowledge them. What we shouldn't put them on a pedestal or give it a story or whatever. There are some people who wear their emotions like a badge of honor. No need. So I don't think our emotions shape us. The story we tell ourselves about our emotions shape us. And the good news is that you influence the stories because you make them up. So then make up a good one.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you also for asking. A question from Kelly. How about to deal with gaslighting? I was raised by a narcissistic family, and was not allowed to have emotion. And
Hmm.
now, as an adult, I'm still having a lot of challenges allowing me to have emotion. Thank you, Kelly, for sharing this with us, for asking this
Yeah,
question.
absolutely. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I have a lot of empathy for what you've been through. I have been raised by narcissists as well, not my parents, other members of the family. I have worked with many narcissists, and we could do an entire hour, Roberto, about narcissism, by the way, because this is a very vast subject. So the question is how to deal with gaslighting. So, first of all, for those who don't know what is gaslighting, gaslighting is people telling you a version of a story that is not the way it went, to make you doubt yourself about the reality of how you
Mm,
experience this. So this is the opposite of what we said of allowing things to be and acknowledging. Okay, this is like a deliberate shifting the table and making you believe that whatever it is that you're feeling is not real, whatever it is that you perceived is not real, and it really makes people literally go crazy because you doubt your own sanity when that's
yeah,
done. It's super toxic. So the first thing is to be aware of it, read about it, know what gaslighting is, and start to recognize it when there are people in your environment doing it. Learn about narcissism. I invite everybody to learn about narcissism because I guarantee you that you have at least one person in your close environment that has a narcissistic personality disorder or highly narcissistic traits. 100%. You know why? I've studied this really in detail because I was fascinated by how many narcissistic people I had in my surroundings, and I wanted to learn about it because the official numbers say it's only 1 to 2% of the population, but that is 1 to 2% of the population that has been diagnosed with
oh,
narcissistic personality disorder. But one of the main characteristics of these people is that they don't think there's anything wrong with them. They think they are these amazing beings. So why on earth would they go in therapy and get a diagnosis? They don't.
Yeah.
So the majority of people are never diagnosed, therefore they're not in the official numbers, doesn't mean they're not narcissistic. You see what I mean? And I
Absolutely.
spoke about this to Dr. Ramani. Dr. Ramani is an amazing world expert on this topic. She's written book about it. She teaches at university about it. She has networking groups about it, and teaching and helping people who go through narcissistic abuse. And she said, no, 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 the real number, and that was then, it came out last May in a scientific study, said that if we just get rid of the label for a second and look at, if we sum up all the narcissistic traits, all the typical patterns and behaviors, and say, okay, this goes in the narcissistic corner, you know how many people have it? You know how many people have highly narcissistic traits on a consistent basis? Don't be scared. 1 out of 6 people.
Wow.
Massive. Yeah. One
Wow.
out of 6 people has highly narcissistic traits. So I invite everybody to learn about narcissism so that you know what it is, so that you can, if you are one yourself, that you can become aware of it and limit the damage you might be doing to other people without knowing it. If you're surrounded by one, learn about it so that you can protect yourself from this type of behavior, because in certain situations it can be highly toxic or even dangerous.
Wow. Thank you, Lucy.
Mm.
And I wasn't aware myself. I will read it, by the way.
A subject for another call. But thank you
Absolutely.
for asking that question. So, what can you do
Thank
about it? Become aware of it. Become
Yeah.
aware of what gaslighting is. Stay extremely connected to your own feelings and give yourself even more than the rest of this conversation we had, even more, a double dose of acknowledgement of what you are going through. Every single emotion that we feel is legitimate. Your brain is not creating it to mess with you. It's there, it's real. So, acknowledge it, allow it to be, and have the courage to say, this is what I feel.
Mm,
This is my truth.
yeah. And there is one question, actually, maybe connect with that, from Colin. He asks, but how can we stop these unconscious things, like you said, from delaying the deadlines or fear of failure holding me back?
Ooh, that's 3 questions in one.
Yeah.
So, um, I would say always start with accepting what is before we try to change anything. First,
Yeah.
acceptance of what is. Every single behavior you have, even the toxic ones, is what your body, what your mind believes is beneficial for you. Okay? They're all there for a reason. So if you perform better under stress, your body is going to unconsciously create stress to help you perform better. It's actually a beautiful thing. So befriend your emotions, befriend your actions, so that then you can say, okay, is this still serving me? Because at
Mm,
one point it was. Is this
yes.
still serving me? And if not, why do I want to change it? And how can I change it? If you do it in that way, meaning what I call peaceful change, it becomes much easier than if you want to change through frustration or because you're fed up with something, etc. And also give yourself credit and give yourself time and give yourself empathy for if it doesn't work out. For example, I shared here I'm a night owl. I've been trying to change that for years. My son is now 13, so it's been 13 years that I know it would be better if I would change my sleeping pattern, etc., to wake up earlier and sleep earlier. And yet I still struggle with it. And I know every single time I sleep before midnight or even before 11, it's so fantastic. The next day I feel like a whole new person, and oh my God, this is amazing. And then it's evening and boom, my energy comes and I have all these ideas and I want to do this and I want to do that. I'm like, okay, 5 minutes this, 5 minutes that, and boom, before I know it, it's midnight, 1 o'clock, and I'm like, oh shit. But instead of beating myself up, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll try again tonight. I'll try again tonight, and then you just go with it.
Wow. Thank you, Lucy, for this example. And I want to add a question for me
You
also, which
can.
connects
It's
to one
already
thing. Yeah,
the hour I
it's
see, so
exactly
please
that
start
last minute
wrapping up.
question. As we
Go for
said
it.
of talking about last minute with a last minute question, there's one thing that popped into my mind when you said peaceful,
Hmm.
which was the peace negotiation with yourself that you talk about uh, sometimes. Could you share a little bit about this?
I think that the biggest gift we can give ourselves is having peace negotiations with ourselves. Now, how does that work? It's super simple. You allow yourself to feel what you're feeling, and you
Mhm.
go in with the curious mindset of understanding what's happening. What is it that I'm feeling? What is it? that I'm doing? Why am I doing it this way? And you negotiate with yourself just like we would negotiate with other people with the same skills, meaning empathy, curiosity, listening skills, observing, trying to understand the need. Everything that I teach about how to become a better negotiator, you turn it inwards and you do it with yourself. And one way I like to do it is, I'm a board advisor. I work a lot with boards. So in my mind, I create this imaginary board where it's all versions of myself, and I
Wow.
invite everybody in. And we have a beautiful board discussion. So there is the child version of me, the teenager, the rebel, the whatever, whoever it is in that moment that needs something. We talk about it all together and say, what is it that you need? What is it that you need? What is it that you need? So this is like an ultimate form of acknowledgement of what's happening inside, because that is the fastest way to calm things down. Everything that's happening in your system is just asking for your attention.
Mm.
Sometimes attention alone solves the whole issue. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need to have the answers. Just acknowledge that it's there and listen to what it is that it's telling you. Just by your attention alone, you can solve and fix a lot of things. And then I also want to invite the people, I have loads of podcasts and videos and loads of things on my YouTube. It's all free. It's all there. Just go have a look and learn and apply it to yourself and teach your children. The biggest gift we can give ourselves is inner peace.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lucine. We are a little bit out of time. I
Yes, you're
have,
very
yeah,
welcome. And I
I
also want
have,
to thank the audience, whoever is still here with us.
well, we still have 47 people connected.
Really?
So
Oh, wow. That's
thank
amazing.
you.
Well, thank you
Thank you so
all for
much.
being here. If there are any
Okay.
other
Yeah.
questions, and I'm sure there
Yeah.
are, you can send me a DM. I will try to go through it and answer if there's anything that I wasn't allowed, didn't have the time to answer, or you didn't want to ask in a group setting. Just send me a DM and I'll do my best to answer.
Thank you so much, Lucy. I have one last question
Hmm.
to wrap up, which is what would you like to see more and less in the world?
Oh, wow. That's a beautiful question. What I would really love to see more is more people connected to themselves and the
Mm,
realization how incredibly powerful they are. Like,
yeah.
people, whoever is still listening to this on the live, you are so, 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 so powerful. And all I wish is for you to realize that, to feel
Yes.
that, to see that, and then to express that in life. And what I would like to see less of is obviously suffering. I think there's a lot of suffering in the world, which is um, unnecessary because people don't have the tools or the techniques or the knowledge or the
Yeah.
people in their lives to teach them how to overcome suffering. And obviously, this is something that I've experienced a lot of in my own life. And I know how horrible it feels. And I hope we can together, through all the actions that we do, lower the level of suffering in our world.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucy. I 100% support that.
You're very
Absolutely.
welcome. Thank you, Roberto, for organizing this. Thank you, everybody who was live and everybody who's watching this. And yeah, let's keep the conversation going. Please do one thing that you
Yes.
got out of this. Apply it. I mean, theory is
Exactly.
great, but application is even better. And then share it with somebody else, help somebody else go through their emotions, become more resilient. And let's make a better place in this beautiful world with less suffering.
Yeah. Thank you, Lucine. Thank you for your presence, for your preparation, for all your care. Thanks to the people who are still there saying hi. Bye bye to everyone.
And bye,
And
everybody.
let's keep in touch. Bye.
Bye.